Hi ShellPoint, I'm Christy Skinner, your Senior Director of Healthcare Services. I'm really excited to be talking to you today because we're going to be talking all about memory care services. So many of you, if not all of you, are very familiar with CJ Galata, our Director of Connected Living, but we're really excited to be introducing a new face to the community today, John Thorp. John Thorp is our Director of Connections, and we'll start off today's segment by John telling a little bit more about himself professionally and maybe personally to you. So John, if you'll do us the great privilege of introducing yourself to the ShellPoint community.
Great. Well, Christy, I have a background in Alzheimer's care. I managed an assisted living community specializing solely on folks with memory impairments. From there, I went to a community, a continuous care retirement community that consisted of independent living, assisted living, and a specialized memory care unit. That experience led me to the realization that folks in independent living have special needs. And then I got involved in geriatric care management because so many of those folks wanted to remain in their home, and they really weren't aware of and didn't have the programming and services to allow them to do that. So there are some parallels here to ShellPoint, and I can bring some of those experiences to this community.
Which we're really excited about because with CJ's leadership over the past few years, we've been able to lay an exceptional foundation for memory care services. However, the statistics in the industry are quite overwhelming. We've all heard a little bit different of a variation, but over the next 30 years, the most recent statistics that are out are that 1 in 2 seniors over the age of 65 will have some impact of cognitive impairment that will impact their lives. So that is truly overwhelming, and when we put that in the context of what that means for ShellPoint, with 2,500 residents, will allow you to do the math, but that's quite overwhelming to us. And so we want to get ahead of that curve here at ShellPoint. So we have established our Connected Living program, and like I said, CJ's done an outstanding job with laying that foundation, and now have further developed Connections. And I know what you're thinking. How do you distinguish the two? So John, if you will differentiate what those two programs are for us and give us the clarity, I'm sure our residents really need that right now.
I'm happy to do so. It's a great question, and one that I've answered quite a few times in my short time here. So essentially, Connected Living is a residence where folks reside with memory impairments and where programs are provided. The difference between Connected Living and Connections is that Connections is more of a broad-based program that applies not only to those folks in assisted living and the Connected Living facility, but it applies to residents throughout the entire ShellPoint community. As I mentioned earlier in my prior experience, that need for those folks in independent living was very real, and it is here as well. So, in keeping with what we are trying to do in terms of being proactive with regard to memory care, we want to be proactive for those folks who come into ShellPoint from day one and be able to plan for their future. As you said, the statistics are very, very real, and it's an unfortunate reality that folks need to be educated and have a plan in place to address those needs going forward.
So we think of Connected Living as Connected Living at the Springs?
Yes. So Connected Living at the Springs, Connected Living at the Pavilion, and the respite program at the Arbor. And those are the programming that CJ has in place and is working very well.
So with having both of you on either side of me, I thought it was important for us to kind of distinguish. So we've got CJ, Director of Connected Living, John, Director of Connections, and so I can imagine that the residents are going to be going, a little bit of clarity would be going a long way for us. So CJ, as the Director of Connections, that is the programming within the buildings. So tell us a little bit more about what some of your focuses will be with programming for Connected Living.
Absolutely. The areas that I'm focused on are the day retreat program, the carefree support group, connected living at the Springs, and connected living at the Pavilion. We will have continued training for employees and expanding upon that, as well as remaining focused on opportunities to foster relationship building between the employees and the residents. That's a really important piece to being able to help residents experience new areas as they transition to maybe the support group in independent living with the carefree support group, or the day retreat program, or moving on to an assisted living level or skilled nursing. We'll see expansion of programs in these areas, not only what we've already been talking about, but being innovative and moving things onto a continued focus of what do the residents value, what's important to them. The way we provide that in the different areas might look slightly different, or it might not, but we need to continue to remain focused on what they value and what they find purpose in at every level that we provide programming. We also will be bringing volunteers to Connected Living at the Springs. I'm really looking forward to expanding that level of service. We know it's been successful at the Pavilion, and we have begun to add some of the volunteers from a programming perspective, but really looking forward to having more of a social aspect to the volunteers. That helps the residents stay connected to the community. We'll be bringing the community into them. Also providing education and resource support to family members of those living at Connected Living at the Springs, as well as Connected Living at the Pavilion.
Excellent.
I look forward to working hand in hand with John on expanding these services.
Wonderful. And I think it's so important. I think that the word connected cannot be used enough when it comes to supporting the residents in the places where they're at in the disease process, their families, when it comes to supporting their loved ones, and also supporting them, because this disease process is overwhelming. We're still navigating, figuring it out, and I think we'll consistently be navigating, figuring it out. I don't know if we'll ever know all the answers. So that gives us some clarity to the connected living piece. So now on to you, John, providing us some more insight and perspective as to your roles and responsibilities and some of the initiatives as you're navigating this new position on campus, which we're excited about, because when we were expanding upon what we needed to resource for those overwhelming statistics, we realized that the addition of your role was very important from an operational perspective. So give us some clarity on that role, and also what you envision some of your initiatives being as you're navigating that new role here.
Great. So the easiest place to start is with our mission statement. Our mission statement directs us to what we do each and every day we wake up. So providing care to our residents is essential. So I have operational responsibility for the Connected Living building and some of the programs that CJ mentioned. So providing a great framework to provide services to our residents and supporting our team members. Our team members are just so critical to our success, and we train them in the specialized approaches to deal with folks with memory care. But the activities program, which Ruth and Tiffany and CJ do just an amazing job, for those to be really effective, the caregivers must take part in it. And as I talk to them, they say to me the most enjoyable part of their job is working with residents. So that's refreshing to me. It feels like we are in such a good place with respect to the connected living environment. The other responsibility that I have that I think is more broad and essential is what we talked about a couple times earlier. It's providing programming and services to those folks in independent living who may have a need, either a resident or a spouse of a resident. And the two cannot be separated because we provide that programming and support for the entire community and the entire family. So even including children that may live out of the area, everybody is involved in the programming. So as we develop specific plans, those are going to be including socialization, meeting with family members. Janine and folks in our Healthy Life coordinator, they have insights into the community that are just going to be really helpful. Mm-hmm. And one of the deliverables, if you will, that I would like to provide is a roadmap for our residents so they can navigate. We all know that healthcare is a very, very complex system to navigate, and that's very true here as well. Understanding where to get resources and who to call is half the battle. And one of the things that we need to do is be supportive of all of those folks who are going through that episode of care, if you will. So that is a really important piece to what we are doing here and what we plan to do.
Excellent. So I think that when we envision what we want for Shell Point for memory care services, I know that you and I talked, and CJ and I have talked, we want to be world class. We want to be state of the art. We want to be the innovators and the initiators of everything from preventative and proactive to taking care of you to taking you through the end stages of life if you're navigating this disease process. So between the talents of John and the talents of CJ, I feel really affirmed that we are continuing to move forward in the right direction with the resources and the road mapping for that. So it's going to be very exciting to put a lot of new programs that the team and I have already been participating in and researching, and we're really looking forward to rolling those out to you in early 2020 and continuing to hear your feedback and what you're looking for, because a lot of what we do in healthcare is asking our residents, what do you want for your future state of healthcare? What do you want for engagement in memory care services? Because it's not just about what we think you want from your healthcare. It's about what you want from your healthcare and how do we incorporate that into your healthcare plan for you. So one of the best ways for us to hear from you is for us to find a way for you to connect with us. So John, what's the best way for residents as a new member of the team for them to get in contact with you?
Sure. So email is always one way, and it's johnthorpe@shellpoint.org. I like to talk on the phone, so I will respond to any email, but I like to connect with folks on the phone. Better yet, I'd like to connect with folks in their residence. As you said, we're going to be using the word connect and connections quite a bit. But my office phone number is 239-454-2914. I've had the opportunity to speak with residents quite a bit in my short time here, and it's been incredibly valuable. And you mentioned the world-class nature of what we do here at Shell Point. It's almost assumed that Shell Point provides world-class quality, and that is certainly something that I want to make sure is part of the Connections program. And we're going to use feedback from residents that I've already received. We're utilizing expertise from national leaders and researchers, and we're going to incorporate all of those things into our ultimate program, just to keep Shell Point at the forefront of the industry.
Right. Well, I think it sounds like an exceptional plan, and I look forward to executing that and meeting and exceeding all expectations for you Shell Point residents, because that's what we're here for in healthcare, is to keep sharpening our irons. So thank you for joining us today. Welcome, John, and thank you, CJ. I know that we are thrilled that you're here, and I hope that you receive him with open arms, as you always have done for myself and all the rest of our healthcare teams. And please connect with him, because he is here to service you and to meet and exceed your expectations. So until next time, Shell Point, stay healthy.